welcome to part 7. This is post-independence Nigeria. Now, before I explain post-independence Nigeria, I have to understand one thing, that now we have gone through a long series of times with Nigeria whereby we have looked at the colonial period. Now we're looking at the post-Nigeria. That is when Nigerians started ruling themselves. So, in 1960, October 1st, Nigeria became independent and we became independent of Britain. Now, we adopted the parliamentary democracy. But first, how do a parliamentary democracy work, or how does it work? Simple. Now, a parliamentary democracy is all about the party that has the most majority of seats in the house. So, which means that if APC has 100 seats out of 200 seats, it means that APC can rule because they have more than half of the seats. So that is all about parliamentary. It's all about the party that has the most. And in a situation whereby parties cannot reach the exact amount of percentage that they need to rule, then they form coalition with other parties to achieve that. And the leader of that coalition becomes the prime minister. Then the second leader becomes the ceremonial president. And in parliamentary government, the prime minister has more power than the ceremonial president. So Nigeria by 1960 was ready. October 1st was already in motion. So in 1959, a general election was held so that when they are doing the handover, so they'll be able to hand over to individuals to become leaders. You understand? So in 1959, an election was held, and the election ended with no party getting the majority to form a government. So AG wanted NCNC to become their partner, where Awolowo and Zik were supposed to partner, but due to the fact that Awolowo backstabbed Zik back in 1954, Zik was skeptical, and the agreement was Awolowo will become finance minister while Zik will become prime minister. But Zik did not trust him and went to form an alliance with the North, with Ahmadu Bello, where Ahmadu Bello told this guy, Tafawa Balewa, who was in the center. Ahmadu Bello did not want to become prime minister. He didn't want to go to Lagos. He loved this Kaduna where he was. So he told Zik that Tafawa Balewa will become the prime minister and you will take ceremonial head, and Zik accepted. I don't know why Zik accepted though, but go and ask Zik why he accepted. So eventually by 1960, Sir Tafawa Balewa became the first prime minister. So due to the fact that the Northern People's Congress had more seats in the house than other regions, this now caused an issue that in 1962, there was a population census, and the population census now showed that the North wasn't that populated. Like, the amount of seats they had on the house, they didn't deserve it. So, because when the population census is done, it is done to know the amount of seats that will be allocated to each region. So, when they did the census, it seems as if the northern region wasn't that populated. So, they were not happy with the census. So, in 1963, another one was done. And they now redid this census, and the Northern People's Congress inflated it, although they inflated it. So everybody was not like, you guys cheated. And then eventually, Tafawa Balewa, as being the leader of the MPC and the leader of the country as the prime minister, approved the population, and this retained Northern seats like their supremacy in the parliament. I know it's dirty politics, it's a normal thing. So eventually, in 1962, also there was another major crisis, which was the Western crisis, which was between Ladoke, SL Akitola, that is Samuel Ladoke Akitola, and Chief Obafemi Awolowo. That is what is known as the AG crisis, which led to the split of the AG and also saw a split of the Western region and saw the creation of a new region, which was the Midwestern region. So in 1964, December 1964, Azikiwe, as the ceremonial president, dissolved parliament because he had the power to dissolve parliament and called for a general election. So December 1964, the first Nigerian conducted parliamentary election was done. And in 1965, the regional election happened. But the regional elections was very crazy. And if you want to look into details of that, we will need a whole entire video series for that. But I promise you I'll create a video series on the 1965 regional election. So in 1965, the regional election was done with a lot of flaw, and it was highly rigged. Even the 64, the federal election too was rigged to a limit, but not as bad as the regional election. The regional election was super rigged. So this now angered the members of the army, and in January 15, 1966, Emeka and Uzogu, many other military officers got pissed at the whole system, the whole corrupt system by the politicians, and declared a coup and assassinated many prominent politicians. So in our next video series, we'll be looking at the coup of January 15, 1966. Yes. in our next part series. Thank you.